Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something that's, well, really quite shocking and sad.
Yeah,
The sudden passing of Shefali Jariwala. She was only 42, cardiac arrest. Just really tragic news that surprised a lot of people.
absolutely. A sudden loss like that, especially for someone in the public eye, it always hits hard. And the unexpectedness, sets a very specific tone.
It really does. And that emotional tone, it became the backdrop for something else, something quite unexpected during her final journey,
Right.
sort of public incident involving the media. So our goal here is to really just unpack what happened using the sources we've reviewed so you can get a quick grasp of the key moments and maybe why it caused such a stir.
Makes sense. It was quite a complex situation, emotionally speaking.
So let's try and picture the scene. You've got the final journey, the procession, obviously a very somber, grief-filled moment.
Yeah, very heavy.
And then right in the middle of this, there's a public outburst, a loud one.
Mm-hmm.
And the focus was on Paris Chabra, another public figure.
Mm-hmm.
He was seen, quite clearly, reprimanding someone from the media, very forcefully. It seemed to catch people off guard.
And what's really interesting, or perhaps key here, is why. What triggered that?
Exactly.
The sources all seem to point towards a specific news story. Something described as dog-related news involving Parag Tyagi.
Who is Shefali Jariwala's husband?
Correct. And Shahabra's very strong reaction, his anger, it seemed rooted in the belief that publishing that particular story, apparently touching on some older, sensitive issue for Tyagi,
Right.
was just completely inappropriate at that exact moment, like a total disregard for the grief the family was experiencing.
And Sambhavna Seth, another well-known name, she was apparently right there with Chabra while this was happening.
Yeah, she was present during the exchange.
So you've got this incredibly raw moment of public grief for Shefali.
Yeah.
And then right alongside it, this very pointed, very public argument over media reporting.
Exactly. A clash, really.
It forces you to think about that line, doesn't it, between, public information and just basic respect for private sorrow. When does reporting cross that line?
Well, precisely. And this wasn't just about, say, cameras being present generally. It was the content of that specific story being seen as disrespectful, ill-timed, maybe even exploiting a past issue at a funeral.
Exploiting feels like a strong word, but perhaps that's how it was perceived.
It could be. It definitely highlights that often tense dynamic between public figures who are always under the microscope and the media, which, let's face it, is under pressure to publish constantly. Sometimes maybe without enough thought for context or compassion.
Yeah, the 24/7 news cycle pressure.
Right.
So, okay, let's sort of wrap this up. As we close out this deep dive, we've touched on two main things. First, the really sad sudden loss of Shefali Jariwala at just 42.
Such a tragedy.
And second, this unexpected public incident during her final journey. That confrontation involving Paris Chabra and the media, specifically over that dog-related news about Parag Tyagi, which was deemed highly inappropriate for the moment.
And stepping back, looking at the bigger picture, this whole episode really just throws into sharp relief how complicated things get when personal grief, public figures, and intense media scrutiny all collide.
Yeah.
It kind of pushes us to think about boundaries, Are there any clear ones anymore in this hyper-connected media world we live in?
That's really the core question, isn't it? It leaves you wondering, where exactly does the public's, let's call it, right to know end and the basic human need for privacy and respect begin, especially in moments of deep personal loss?
A tough question with no easy answers.
Definitely. And what does this specific situation maybe tell us about how that relationship between celebrities or public figures and the media is changing, especially now when everything seems to get shared, dissected instantly? Something to perhaps